Stop what you're doing. Do you really think it's a coincidence that you were separated from your dad? No, it's not. You're here for a reason. You are a chosen one, and this is no accident. The pain of that absence, the longing you've felt, it wasn't meaningless. It's been part of a divine preparation, shaping you into who you're meant to be. What if everything you've endured was designed to build your strength, to prepare you for a purpose far greater than you realize? Pause and ask yourself, are you ready? Ready to face the reason why life separated you from your father, to discover how it's leading you to something greater? This moment is calling you to step into your destiny. You have always felt the profound ache of separation, a chasm between you and your father that seemed insurmountable. This void may have led you to question your place, your value, or even your worth in the eyes of God. But know this, it was never a sign of abandonment. It was a divine design, a deliberate act by the Almighty to create a space where He could shape you, free from earthly attachments. The absence you experienced wasn't an oversight. It was a form of refinement, a crucible through which your soul has been tested. He separated you from your father, not to withhold love, but to set you apart for a love far greater than the world can offer. In that void, His voice speaks to you more clearly, more powerfully, drawing you into His purpose, without the distractions of the mundane. You were never meant to follow the common path. Your journey was destined to be unique. From childhood, while others found solace in their father's embrace, you stood alone, grappling with the sting of isolation. But this solitude was not a weakness. It was the forging of strength. It was God's way of teaching you to rely solely on Him, like a warrior trained in the wilderness, stripped of comfort so that only the essentials remain. Now reflect deeply. Are you prepared to embrace the reason for this divine separation, to step into the greater purpose that God has meticulously prepared for you? The time has come to rise above the pain and recognize the extraordinary calling that awaits. You are being prepared for something far greater. The very separation you struggled with has been your spiritual forge. God sees the love you've longed for, the connection you may have envied in others. But that void wasn't an oversight. It was filled by His divine intention. He needed you untethered from earthly attachments because your mission reaches beyond the confines of ordinary bonds. Your calling demands a different kind of strength, the kind not softened by constant affirmation or a father's protective presence. Instead, you are upheld by the unshakable, immeasurable force of God's love. His unseen hand has been shaping you in ways only revealed through the fire of separation. Picture the world as a battlefield, and you are a soldier forged in solitude for a war you didn't even realize you were fighting. While others leaned on the comfort of their fathers, God required you to learn to stand alone, to discover Him in the silence, and to find strength in the emptiness. In the absence of a father's love, you uncovered a love that is eternal, perfect, and unfailing. Your survival in this seeming void has prepared you with a resilience that others cannot fathom. The separation you've endured wasn't punishment. It was a divine chisel, cutting away what wasn't needed to reveal the masterpiece within. Every moment of distance was an intentional stroke, carving you into the vessel God needs for His purpose. It may have felt like a burden, like a weight too heavy to bear, but that weight was never meant to break you. It was always meant to become the wings that would lift you to heights others can't reach. This separation, this pain, is your transformation, your preparation. And it has set you apart for something extraordinary. In His infinite wisdom, God removed the comfort of earthly connections to bestow upon you a divine purpose. You were never meant to follow the crowd or be bound by the same ties that hold others. He separated you to sanctify you, to claim you as His own, untainted and unburdened by the world's limited definitions of love. What you may have perceived as absence, God saw as His presence. What felt like isolation was His invitation for you to step fully into the person you were always destined to become. The separation from your father was no accident. That emotional and relational distance was a deliberate act, a signal that you are chosen, It may have felt like abandonment or neglect, but what you endured was part of God's refining fire. The conflicts, the strained conversations, the silence, they were tools in the hands of a divine craftsman, shaping you with precision. Like a hammer striking stone, they chipped away the parts of you that were never meant to remain, revealing a core of strength and resilience. Every disagreement, every harsh word, every manipulation was more than pain. They were lessons, forging you into someone unshakable. The battles you faced with your father have been some of the fiercest of your life. They were not mere arguments, but cosmic struggles between who you are called to be and the forces that would keep you from it. You weren't just hurt, you were sharpened. In every clash, God was preparing you for a greater purpose, making you capable of standing firm in the face of any storm. What you've endured was never in vain. It was a holy transformation, shaping you into a vessel for His glory, ready to fulfill the extraordinary calling on your life. You may have felt the sting of relentless criticism, the emotional manipulation that twisted your heart, and the sabotage that left you doubting your worth. These weren't random hardships. Every wound was intentional, a part of God's divine plan to prepare you for something extraordinary. Through these scars, you've gained an armor that others can't fathom. While many may crumble under the weight of life's challenges, you've already endured the furnace, and it has only forged you stronger. The haunting question lingers. Why? Why did your relationship with your father seem destined for pain? The answer is profound yet simple. God never intended for you to find your identity in Him. His presence in your life, with all its flaws and complexities, whether rooted in His own struggles or shortcomings, was never meant to define you. Instead, it was meant to reveal the insufficiency of earthly relationships and propel you toward something far greater: Him. In every moment you sought validation and were denied, God was training you to find your worth in Him alone. You weren't designed to seek approval from the world or even from family. Your value comes from your Creator, and through this struggle, He ensured you would understand that truth at your very core. This separation, this lack of attachment, is not a mark of failure. On the contrary, it is a sign that you were chosen for a purpose far beyond the ordinary confines of human relationships. It's a divine calling that required you to be untethered so you could rise above, free to fulfill the extraordinary destiny God has placed upon your life. Every trial was preparation. Every scar is proof that you are ready for what lies ahead. Others may find themselves trapped in the emotional chains of toxic family ties, bound by expectations and unhealthy dynamics. But not you. God has granted you the freedom to walk a different path, a path that rises above the entanglements that hold others back. The emotional distance you've felt is not merely a painful reality, it's a divine signal, a testament to the extraordinary purpose for which you were set apart. Through every wound, every tear, every moment of loneliness, God has been preparing you for a destiny that few can comprehend. You are not constrained by the limitations of your family or defined by its dynamics. You are chosen, deliberately separated for a divine purpose. That very separation is evidence of the greatness that lies ahead for you. Your pain was never wasted. It has forged you into someone who is stronger, more resilient, and deeply aligned with a higher calling. You are one of the few who have faced the deepest wounds and emerged not broken, but whole, ready to fulfill a purpose beyond earthly ties. If you've felt the ache of separation and the weight of forging your identity beyond the bonds of this world, know this: you are not alone. This is your confirmation. You were chosen to step into something extraordinary, and this is your home, a place where your pain becomes power, and your separation becomes the foundation of your greatness. You are ready. Step forward into your divine calling. Our community, now over 1,500 strong and growing, is a sanctuary for those who have walked similar paths. It's a place where you can connect with others who truly understand your journey, share your stories, and find support in the strength of collective experience. Here, you'll discover a network of individuals ready to uplift, inspire, and walk alongside you as you step into your divine purpose. You are not alone. This is your space to heal, grow, and thrive. The division you've experienced within your family is not only purposeful, but deeply rooted in Scripture. In Luke 12:51-53, Jesus declared that he did not come to bring peace, but division, even within families. This separation is not merely a disruption of harmony. It is a divine wedge, carving you away from the ordinary, the expected, and the earthly, so you can ascend into the extraordinary purpose God has for you. Your separation from your Father, the emotional and relational rift, is a manifestation of this divine divide. It is not a mark of failure, but a sign that you have been set apart, chosen for a purpose that transcends familial bonds and earthly expectations. Division often begins in the heart of the family, the very place where emotional ties run deepest. Even Jesus faced this when his parents didn't fully understand his mission, as seen in Luke 2:48-49. Just as he distanced himself from earthly expectations, you too have been called to step away from the constraints and misunderstandings of your family. Your father may not grasp the weight of your calling. He may see your path as strange, misguided, or even wrong. Yet, this lack of understanding is part of God's design, pulling you away from what is familiar and comfortable to prepare you for the divine mission ahead. His disapproval, or inability to see your path clearly, is not a reflection of your worth. Instead, it is a reflection of the magnitude of your calling, a calling that defies the measures and definitions of the ordinary. You were never meant to seek approval or base your identity on the acceptance of earthly relationships. God's purpose for you required this separation, difficult and painful though it may be, to ensure that your identity is rooted in Him alone. This division, as challenging as it feels, is a necessary act of love. God's love for you is too fierce, too intentional, to allow you to remain tethered to anything that might hinder your ascent into the destiny He has prepared for you. It is through this pain that you are being shaped, refined, and set apart for a mission that only you can fulfill. Your father, with all his struggles, his shortcomings, and his own unresolved pain, cannot fully comprehend the heights to which God is calling you. His words, criticisms, and even moments of manipulation were never meant to destroy you. They were tools in the hands of the Almighty to shape you into someone who could transcend earthly wounds and draw strength from the divine. The emotional challenges you've faced were the anvil on which God forged you into a warrior, one capable of withstanding the storms and trials ahead. You weren't chosen for an easy path. You were chosen for a path that demands resilience, a path that requires you to break free from anything that might tether you to mediocrity. Even Jesus, who experienced the pain of being misunderstood by his earthly family, knew this struggle. Like him, you are called to a higher purpose, a purpose that often creates distance between you and those you hold dear. This gap between you and your Father is not accidental. It is the space where God's voice becomes louder, where His purpose for your life becomes undeniable. In this space, you are no longer confined by human expectations, but are free to walk fully in the calling He has placed on your life. The division you've experienced is one of the clearest signs that God has set you apart. You are not meant to remain bound by earthly relationships that cannot contain the magnitude of your purpose. You are called to something far greater, and this separation is God's way of ensuring that nothing holds you back. Every tear, every heartache, and every conflict has been a necessary step toward becoming the person God is molding you to be. You are chosen, and this division is the refining fire that leads to your greatness. The separation from your Father, with all the pain and unresolved tension it carries, serves a divine purpose. When the love, support, or understanding you hoped for from Him feels absent, you are not abandoned. God Himself steps in to fill the void, not as a mere replacement, but as the ultimate source of everything your soul craves. Every unmet need, every moment of loneliness, is a catalyst that draws you closer to God. He doesn't just fill the gaps, He exceeds them, offering a love that is unwavering, boundless, and infinitely perfect. While an earthly father may provide guidance, God offers something far deeper: strength, identity, and purpose that are eternal. The separation you feel is not a punishment or a failure. It is a deliberate act of love from God, removing distractions that might keep you from fully leaning into Him. What you perceive as emotional neglect or brokenness in your relationship with your Father is actually the fertile ground where God's presence takes root and grows stronger. He does not simply meet your needs, He surpasses them. In this sacred space of separation, His role in your life becomes undeniable. This is His divine design, preparing you for a purpose far beyond what the world can offer. The world may tell you that the bond between parent and child is unbreakable, essential, and sacred, but God has chosen a different path for you. The earthly ties that others cling to, God has loosened for you, ensuring that your attachment to Him is unshakable. He has drawn you away from the limitations of human relationships so that your dependence would rest solely on Him, a wellspring of love and strength that never runs dry. Through every tear and every moment of silence from your Father, God has been building in you a spiritual resilience that surpasses anything the world can offer. Your Father, with all his imperfections and struggles, was never meant to fill the divine role that God holds in your life. His inability to meet your emotional or spiritual needs was never a reflection of your worth, but a sign that those needs were always meant to be fulfilled by your Heavenly Father. God did not design you to rely on human affection, because He knew that no earthly relationship could provide the perfect love, guidance, and protection that only He can offer. The separation you feel is not a loss, but an invitation. A call to lean fully on Him and discover in Him everything your heart has ever longed for. This separation was always part of His plan, a divine strategy to strengthen your dependence on Him. As the emotional ties to your earthly father weakened, your connection to God intensified. The more distant that relationship became, the closer you were drawn into the arms of your Creator. God saw your pain, your confusion, and the longing in your heart. He has been waiting patiently for you to realize that He is the one who provides all you need. He is not merely a spiritual crutch, but the firm foundation on which you stand. The everlasting source of strength that no human relationship could ever match. You are commanded to honor your Father, not because of how He treated you, but because of who you are called to be. This command, found in Deuteronomy 5:16, is not conditional upon His behavior or the pain you've endured, but is rooted in your identity as one chosen by God. Honoring Him is an act of obedience to God, a reflection of your strength and spiritual maturity, not His worthiness. To honor your Father is a radical act of defiance against the wounds inflicted. It is not about erasing the scars or pretending that the distance doesn't exist. It is about rising above the pain, stepping into the divine calling that sets you apart, and choosing to walk in the path God has prepared for you. To honor Him means acknowledging the role He has played, however flawed, in shaping your life. It is not for His sake, but for yours, a testament to your obedience to God and your strength to rise above the brokenness. Through this act, you not only fulfill God's command, but also step fully into the purpose for which you were created. It means refusing to let bitterness take root, allowing grace to flourish in its place. The honor you show is not submission to His control, nor is it an endorsement of the wrongs done to you. Instead, it is a reflection of your strength in God, a strength that enables you to rise above the pain and live according to His divine standards. Honoring your Father is not about surrender. It is about victory. This act forces you to confront the raw edges of your hurt, not to give in to them, but to overcome them. It transforms you, teaching you to forgive. Not because He deserves it, but because you need it. In choosing forgiveness, you break free from the chains of resentment that would otherwise hold you back, hindering your spiritual growth and progress. The honor you offer is not for His benefit. It is for yours. It is a gateway to the blessings God has prepared for you. To harbor bitterness or cling to unforgiveness is to close yourself off from those blessings. God is not asking you to reconcile what may feel irreparably broken, or to repair what cannot be fixed. He is asking you to rise above it, to honor your Father despite the division, because what matters most is your obedience to God's command. When you honor your Father, you align yourself with God's will, and it is in that alignment where true spiritual power resides. This is not about appeasing your Father or fulfilling a societal expectation. It is about declaring that your allegiance lies with God's Word, even when it comes at a personal cost. This honor is not about your Father's worthiness, nor is it about justifying yourself. It is about the kind of person God has called you to be. You are chosen, set apart, and God requires more from you than the world demands from others. The honor you extend, even in the midst of separation, is not about Him. It is about your obedience to the divine calling on your life. The division you have experienced is not a punishment, but a crucible, a refining fire burning away the unnecessary and shaping you into the person God needs you to become. You are not like others, content in the familiar or bound to the ordinary. God has called you higher, and with that calling comes the requirement for growth that others may never understand. This separation, this cutting away of old ties and comforts, is God's method of pruning your life so that you can bear the fruit necessary for His kingdom. What feels like isolation is, in fact, sacred ground, a place of transformation where you are being molded, strengthened, and prepared for the extraordinary purpose that awaits you. Trust in the process, for this is where your greatest spiritual victories will be born. Your divine purpose may come with the sharp edges of loneliness, but this isolation is where God's hands are most powerfully at work. It is in this space, stripped of earthly connections that once shaped your life, that God speaks to you with clarity. The distance from those who were once close is not a random occurrence. It is a deliberate act of God, setting you apart for a higher calling. The voices that once filled your world have been quieted so that His voice can be heard above all else. Growth doesn't happen in comfort. It happens in the furnace of refinement. Every moment of separation is a tool in God's hands, shaping you into a vessel capable of carrying His extraordinary purpose. This division is your preparation for the next chapter, a training ground for the strength you will need to fulfill your divine mission. Just as metal is heated and hammered to become unbreakable, you too are being forged through the heat of this separation. This is not a process meant to weaken you. It is stripping away the vulnerabilities that might hold you back. The relationships that once defined or even limited you are being removed because they no longer align with the higher purpose God has set before you. You are not being punished, you are being elevated. This is a promotion to a higher calling, one that demands more from you than you ever thought possible. The separation from your Father is not a sign of failure, but a profound confirmation of your divine purpose. This division is not a stumbling block, but a stepping stone, a necessary part of the plan God is orchestrating for your life. You were never meant to be confined by earthly relationships that cannot grasp the magnitude of your calling. God has removed the distractions and limitations to sharpen and mold you into the vessel He needs to carry out His mission. Every moment of pain, every instance of distance, is God chiseling away the excess, revealing the strength and resilience He is building within you. You are set apart, and this separation is the proof that God has chosen you for something far greater than you can currently see. He is unfolding a divine plan that requires your focus, your complete dependence on Him, and your ability to rise above what others may never understand. You were not created to blend into the ordinary. You were designed for the extraordinary. This separation is not rejection, but refinement, part of a purification process ensuring that your purpose is fulfilled without hindrance. God is ensuring that you become exactly who He has called you to be. Now is the time to embrace this truth and step into the knowledge that your story and struggles are not in vain. They are a testimony to the incredible work God is doing within you. You are not defined by past relationships or the pain of separation. You are defined by the divine calling that marks your life. Step forward boldly, knowing this is part of your preparation for greatness. Share your story, share your growth, and let your testimony encourage others. Through your experience, others can find strength in their separation and trust in God's perfect plan. As you walk this journey of separation, refinement, and purpose, remember this: you are not alone. Every trial, every moment of pain, and every tear is part of the masterpiece God is creating within you. Your struggles are not wasted. They are the foundation of your strength and the proof of your calling. Embrace the truth that you are set apart for something extraordinary. The pain you've endured is the preparation for the greatness you are stepping into. Trust that God's plan is perfect, even when it's difficult to understand. Lean into His love, His strength, and His purpose, knowing that everything you've been through is leading you closer to the person He has called you to be. You are chosen. You are loved. You are enough. Let your story be a light to others, a testimony of resilience and faith in God's divine plan. Keep moving forward, knowing that the best is yet to come. Thank you for being here, for opening your heart to this message, and for continuing to grow in your journey. If this resonated with you, share it with someone who needs encouragement. Together, we can lift each other up and walk boldly in our God-given purpose. Until next time, stay strong, stay faithful, and keep trusting the process. You've got this, chosen one.